clarity as possible, you know. And depending on how it goes, it's just that I don't have much money in my live trading account. I will probably even make some action based on what we do today, but let's get into it. So a live case study. When I am analyzing a company to buy, not academic purpose, not for training purpose, I am a stock investor. I already, in some of the sessions I showed you how I do my portfolio sharing. I do 20% Nigerian stocks, 20% US stocks, 20% crypto. Remaining 40% is locked in real estate. You know, that one has some headaches in its own. So, but the key thing is, when I'm deciding on which company to buy, how do I go about it? So how do I go about it from ground zero, without any prepared documents, without taking it as if this is a training class? I want to take you through my processes, okay? So I have, to make it easy for you to follow me, I have created my usual checklists. So these are my checklists. So this is a listing of the things that I do. You know, then I'm going to take you through how I do them, but this helps you to see in like stage by stage how I go about it. The number one thing is, when I want to buy a company, you know, buy the shares of a company, let's forget about whether you like the company. Let's forget about even the financials. Forget about everything. The number one thing you want to do first of all is what I have as number one here. You want to check that the company has enough trading volume and value. Nobody wants to buy into a company that does not trade. You know, the meaning of it doesn't trade means you can't sell. Even to buy, you might have difficulty buying, you know, and then when you want to sell, you're in trouble. You know, it's as if you go to buy a land that there's no market for. No matter how good the land is, the value is when you're able to sell it, right? So if you buy a land that takes you 2 years to sell, I don't think you'll be happy that all your money is locked in that kind of a land. So the same thing too for shares. It's even worse for shares, because if you are not able to easily buy and sell, even the gain that you see on paper becomes non-realizable. What do I mean by non-realizable? If it is currently showing that the company is trading at 20 naira per share, and you say, oh, I have some shares that I want to cash in on, and you want to sell them, and you go on the stock exchange and you place your sell order for maybe 1,000 shares of that company's shares, and they're selling at 20 naira per share, but because it's not having enough volume, we call it liquidity, there is not enough liquidity, you'll be there, your order is going to be there for long. And if you make the mistake of not putting it as, there's what we call limit, where you put a limit to the price order. So you say, oh, you don't want to sell it at less than 20 naira per share. If you don't do that, if you put your order, place it as what we call market order, which means you just say you want to sell, you did not specify what price you want to sell for, you're in trouble. Somebody can say he wants to buy it at 5 naira, and that's it. You know, that's what it will sell for, because you did not limit it. There's no liquidity. So let me not overdrag it. Just have it in mind. If you are confused about what it means, you can read up on it. Liquidity is the number one thing. You don't want to go to imagine you are a trader, or why are most of us in Lagos? Liquidity. Whatever you can do, you will see easy buyers for it. You're a banker, there's a lot of opportunities. There's what we call opportunity, right? Why you left your village and come to a city is the same reason why you will not want to buy shares in a company that there is no trading activity around it. It's really a terrible thing. So how do we decide that? If you have a trading account, it's not too difficult. You can just log into your stockbroker's portal, but like I said, I'm going to do this in a way that anybody without having any already existing resource can be able to do whatever I'm doing and be able to achieve the same outcome. So what will I do? I have a tool that I'm going to say you can use. You can use this one to go check out the activity, the trading activity. So I'm going to paste it here. So checking the trading activity. to be sure there is enough activity before you even decide to analyze the company. This one supersedes your analysis because you are buying it so that you can sell it before any other analysis. Okay, so you can use this, and if you are using this, where will you go? If you go to page, so if you are using this, I have multiple pages. I'm the designer of this, so it makes sense that I have designed it to capture the kind of things that I'm also interested in. So well, you can see the information here, but you preferably might want to go here. So here is a dedicated page for each company and the key things. So let's go look for Nigerian breweries. So it's arranged alphabetical order. So Nigerian breweries will be N Nigerian breweries. Okay. So if you look at it, it traded last at 59 naira 85 kobo. But what we are looking for is volume and value. So can you see volume and value? So I can see that the volume is 53,918. The value is 3 million, right? Okay, good. Then you are going to go to another page. So that's just one day's volume and value, right? That's not enough. You're going to go to this third page, and then you look for the same Nigerian breweries. Nigerian breweries. Now, when you are here, you are going to see over many days. In fact, you want to look at, this is good enough. This is already showing me that it trades really large volumes a day. Okay, so it trades high enough. What is high enough? I'm going to come to what is high enough, or maybe I should say it right now. You want to see at least 100,000 volume steady, 100,000 units of exchange shares, you know, every day. Now that 100,000 is a flat amount that I'm giving, right, across all shares. There are some exceptions where you want to see a lot more. Okay, I'm going to come to that, but on the minimum, you want to see 100,000 trading volume. Okay, so when I'm checking through here, you know, I'm looking at many days, not just one day. One day there can be things that happen on a particular day that the volume is really high or is extraordinarily low. But then you want to check for across the last 6 months, you know, as it means trading on average above 100,000 volume. So if you look at my screen, you will see that this Nigerian breweries has been trading well over 100,000, you know, over those periods, right? Then as for value, now if a company is selling at less than 1 naira per share, then you want to see more than 100,000, because if a company is selling at less than 1 naira per share, then 100,000 volume of trade means 100,000 naira value of shares or exchange. Except you are planning to buy just 5,000 naira or 10,000 naira worth of shares, you don't want to be in that kind of a company. You don't want to buy into a company that trades less than 100,000 value. So that brings us to the value. So the value is a bit tricky. Volume is the number of shares that are exchanged. But then the volume, I've said you can flat out pick 100,000 units of exchange of trades every trading day. But for value, the thing about value is relative to how much you are investing. Okay, so now if I'm planning to buy, say, 10 million naira worth of shares in a company, right? I want to be able to, if I've seen enough gain and I want to move out of the trade, I want to be able to move out in at most 2 days. In fact, my focus will be to be able to move out in 1 day. So imagine that the company that you've bought in trades volume of, so let's say trades volume of 100,000. So let me write it on the screen. So trades Control 3, Control 2, Control 2. Sorry. Okay, great. Trades volume of 100,000 or 100K. If the share price is 100, is 1 naira, share price is 1 naira, right? Then it means 1 day's volume. So 1 day, you can only, so 1 day's volume is 100K. So imagine that you have 10 million naira shares there. You can't get out in 1 day. In fact, you can't get out in 1 week. And that's not the worst part. The worst part is once you place your sell order will drag the market down. It will overwhelm the supply. It will overwhelm the demand in this case, because you have said you want to sell, which is you have increased the supply of shares that are now available for sale. It's just as if you go to your village market, a market where they only maybe sell 1 truck of tomatoes. You now go there with 100 trucks of tomato. Then there's going to be problem. You'll be forced to sell it at below the normal price. Why? Because you have overwhelmed the demand. Okay, so you don't want that. It's very terrible when you do that in a share market, in a stock market. So that's why this number 1 is important. So let me just wrap it up. You want to check that it's doing more than 100K volume per day. Then, depending on how much you're investing, you don't want to invest it's a bit tricky, but this is my own approach. So that's why I wanted to explain what it means. Then you can decide your own. My own approach is that I should be able to get out in 1 day. If I see profit, or there's a problem that I'm sensing is happening and I want to get out of that company, I should be able to get out in 1 day. So get out in 1 day. In 1 day means that the shares I buy should not be more than the value, daily trading value. Get out in 1 day. So if a company only trades 100K per day, in fact, I will not buy more than half of this. I will not buy more than 50K of their shares. So that if I need to get out, I can get out safely without overwhelming the demand, without supplying too much. Okay, so I hope that is clear, because I want to move on to the next point. So for me, let me show you an example of a company that is having very low trading volume. Okay, so let's see. Let's even go to this other place so that you see a lot of examples and you see why I won't touch them. See Academy Press. Academy Press has trading volume of 10. So imagine you buy shares in it. When are you going to get out? In fact, if you want to buy is going to be problematic. So your gain on paper is not going to be, there's what we call slippage. Slippage is your land is selling for 20 million naira, right? But when you decide to sell yours, nobody is trying to, it's just like what is happening with the exchange rate. Everybody knows if you go to Aboki FX, exchange rate is 495, but very few people are buying or selling at that rate. Why? Because there is what we call in trading slippage. What you see on paper is different from what you encounter in reality, and it's a case of where your luck is. Are more people willing to buy it? Maybe you have the dollar, more people are willing to buy. They will buy from you than the whatever rate is on paper online. And if it is a case where people are much more desperate to sell, then nobody wants to buy. And then so you find out that when the demand and supply is not so much, whatever you bring in can swing the market, can increase the demand so much that supply will not be enough and price abnormalities will happen. So I will never buy into Academy Press. Doesn't even matter whether the financials are okay or some. Nope. I won't buy into Abbey Building. I won't buy into, see this Airtel Africa is a funny case. I'm going to want to check. I'm going to want to check the monthly, the over like the last 3 months, the volume, okay, before I would decide, because I bought into it and the volume is not always low. So more, I think they have more international investors. So that's why the volume is a bit funny. But again, you want to pay extra care. I'm not going to buy into bulk gases. I'm not. So you get the whole idea. And there are so many shares I'm not going to buy into because the volume is really low. I won't buy into CWG. I will not buy into Ella Lakes. I will not buy into eTransact. So I hope the point is clear. So I'm moving on to point number 2. So point number 2 is, are there any current external concerns? Can be positive or negative, okay? So are there concerns that I want to factor in? So what do I mean by concerns? Very easy to even find out. Just go online and search Nigerian breweries. Okay. So there are 2 places you will need to go in terms of results. Okay. Number 1, just skim through what comes here in the first results, right? Okay. So you can read through some of these. There's no hard rule about it, but you want to read external, not their own website. Their own website is going to tell you rosy things, right? You want to read what external, like Wikipedia and Reuters, right? So then, more importantly, you go to news. So when you go to news, this is where you want to pay more attention. You want to check, are there things that have happened? Things that have happened could be, were they sued? Did the parent company say they are divesting? Did some people say they are buying anew into it? So in news portion, you are going to see more of the kind of things you are looking for, the external concerns that will affect your analysis, okay? So I'm looking at Nigerian breweries. I'm not noticing anything bad. On neutral is good. Like when you see things that look good, that's neutral, because naturally companies will post news that are good. So when you see news that are good, that is just, doesn't mean that it's a plus. It just means that's the baseline. It's when you see news that are negative, that's where you know that you want to give that more concern. So I'm looking at Nigerian breweries, nothing. It looks like every normal day business, they are empowering SME, MSME, every big company does CSR, so not a big problem. Blue chip stocks help Nigerian shares going forward. That was just a normal news people post about top gainer, top losers. So I'm not seeing anything that is looking worrying or looking extraordinarily good. Okay, I can go to next 3 pages. Okay, so they are going into renewables. That's a good one. Okay, dividend. Everybody knows why the dividend is going down, so that's not okay. Some people are analyzing that. So this is interesting. I want to see this. If it looks really strong, then that's a positive thing. Okay, so what other thing? They are going into 70% renewables. And I'm looking at this to be achieved by year 2020. That is too far to affect whatever analysis I'm doing. So I go to a 3rd page, and if there's any, this will be the last I'll check. Okay. By stocking. Okay, so nothing. Then let's check here the Reuters and see if there's anything that you want to take special notice of. So you look at this latest development parts. Lower about a year back, there's nothing extraordinary. And then you read a bit about this to see if there's anything about the management or direction that is serious. Nigerian breweries and Nigerian brewery, stout, non-alcoholic, star lager. Okay, it's they introduced new products more recently. Okay, it operates temporarily. So there's nothing here that's looking bad. Then I go to Wikipedia. So Wikipedia is very good to showing you also things that have happened recently. I don't know why the people who go to update it, but it's pretty neutral most times. So you see, you know, things that pop out. So again, I'm looking at this. I'm not seeing any special news. I'm not seeing maybe any recent acquisition. No, this is really old. And I'm not seeing anybody suing them or them paying any damages to anybody. Okay, so that's no positive, no negative. Then here, people are analyzing the industry. You say the industry is going to go by massive cumulative annual growth rates. What is massive? Let's see. Are they putting any figures here? This is a very funny one. Go at a massive, what they are calling massive is XX%, which doesn't make any sense. So this looks like a PR. Whoever was doing this has something to gain. Okay, so I am going to now move to the next step, because right now I've not seen anything. There are no current external concerns, be it on the positive or on the negative side from what I've checked. So the next thing is, does management check out fine? What's their corporate governance like? Okay, so that's where you now go back here to the Google search, but this time around you are going to the website itself. So you're going to the company website. So when you go to the company website, it's about the company. So they want me to enter my date of birth. I'm going to enter our Independence Day. I think this should be 1960. Okay, access granted. So you want to check out, there are two places you will check out the management. There are two places, okay? So number one, just on their website, take a look where they talk about, it's about us. Okay, so this meet our directors, and if there's any, yeah, so that's one, meet our directors. Great. So this is where I want to see who are the management, okay? You might want to do a quick Google search on some of them to see if they have been embroiled in some previous lawsuits or funny things. Like, you don't want to invest in a company that maybe the chairman used to be the CEO of a defunct bank, or used to be the chairman of a company that went under and due to corporate governance issues. So you document is in space. So, Mr. Akim, our VIP participant, you say you can't see my screen. Are there others who can't see my, but anyway, you are so important, I will reshare. So I don't even need to ask others. I'm going to stop sharing and share all over. So I'm resharing my screen. Okay, so what about now? Any improvement? So like I said, you want to quickly do a Google search on the chairman, especially just to see what has been his. So let's do that on this. So I'm going to do a Google search on chairman. You don't want someone who's been embroiled in too many shady stuffs, right? Or where there are issues around maybe he used to work in own a company that went under and blah blah. So usually I'm looking for one place where I will see everything I need at once. Oh, great. Thanks for confirming. I want somewhere neutral, not somewhere where they are telling me, okay, great. No, not. Well, to save us too much problem, right? I'm a bit familiar with it doesn't have any bad history. Let me use that word. So I'm looking at our time so that we can move on to the next thing. You don't want to read a PR document. If you read a PR document, they are going to paint him in a good. You want something that is a bit like autobiography, or something that leads but Yinka, were you seeing it before? Were you seeing my screen before? Because the other person now can see.
No, I'm just joining.
I know when you join. You've joined for a while. Are you joining from your phone?
No, from a laptop.
Okay, disconnect and rejoin.
Okay.
Yeah, try that. It will work. So because of time, I'm going to move on to. But you got the whole idea. So do a quick check on the chairman and the CEO. Most of the time, CEOs don't have so much problem because even a serious company will not hire a CEO that will put them in a bad light. It's the chairman sometimes that maybe the chairman actually started the company, so you can't fire the chairman. So even if the chairman had some other companies that went under, that does not mean they were going to remove him. So it's usually the chairman you want to Google. Then maybe you might want to check the CEO too, but just read about them to see, just have a feel of who they are. So this is why this is good, because here it's already summarized, so it doesn't take too much time. The chairman and the CEO, you can Google them to read news about them rather than the one where they are being put in a very nice, light PR way. So once that is done, are you okay with there's a second part to it. The second part is you download their financial statement, their most recent one. So you download the financial statement, the most recent one. So you see under in the website in investor relations, you'll see where you'll find the financial statement 2020. Download. So while that might be downloading, I have it actually, just to show you that there's nothing I'm taking you through that you cannot get yourself. So let me see if I can be faster. It's kind of even done. Makes sense. So it's done. Huh? Let's open it then, so that we are using everything we are using is what we accessed right from here. So every company in their annual reports, in their financial statements, there's always a story part. So this is where the corporate governance come into play. You want to read what the story part is about. More importantly, you want to check out whatever corporate governance policies they have in place, committees, and things that are related to ethics and governance. And so you've already read the one on their website. You might not need to read this again, but let me scroll faster. Aha. So there's a portion that involves.
I can't see your screen. I was seeing it before. I'm no longer seeing it.
Okay, let me reshare. Share. Okay. What about now? Is it fine now?
Yeah, it's much better.
Okay, great. So sorry, then what I did that maybe you didn't notice is on the website, I downloaded the financial statement. So I downloaded the financial statement. You'll find it always in the investor relations site. So I opened it, and then I said, you will see the chairman's address and all. That one will become useful here, business outlook. So from this chairman's address, they will tell you about what the environment, what their challenges are, what their plans are, what their current plans are, what their struggles are, and it's very funny. They are very open here because it is the chairman who writes it. So he has a reputation to protect. He doesn't write it too much in a salesmancy way. There will be some more writing like that, but they typically, when I read this for companies, they are very straightforward. They are not trying to market. They are telling you things as they are. So this is very eye opening. You will get two things from here. You're going to get the business outlook, this number 4. So you want to read it for the most current year. You don't need to read backwards. Just download the most current year, read it. So I'm just going to flip through. They say blah, blah, blah. The 2020 was a unique one. There's the coronavirus, everybody knows that. So let's look for where they say it's affecting them or how it, government, blah, blah, blah. Normally you read this very well, not the way I'm reading it. So there's a part where it starts talking about how all this is affecting them and what their plans are. So I think they always start with explaining what's happening in the environment, and then gradually they start bringing it down to how it affects their industry, and then how it affects them in particular, and what they are trying to do to mitigate, and their plans too. Sometimes it's not always complain, but it might also be things about their expansion. Like if you do Dangote, many times it's talking about its expansion. One factory will come up in June, another one is underway, and stuff like that. So brew was most it. Bars were shut down. Reviewed of following outbreak. I'm looking for numbers. Activities carried out, extra blah, blah. At tail end of the year, they added new products, so that's a good thing. So they're expanding. Then they started. They launched a few new products. That's always a good thing. When a consumer goods company launches new products, they are in that industry where more is usually always better. Okay. It is when they stop that's a bad sign. Before they stop, they must have been making losses on a product before they actually stop. So more is kind of like a good sign. Let's see. Notwithstanding the pandemic, we remain strong. Leadership, blah, blah. So it's a bit difficult to pick some things from theirs. Let's just read the conclusion. If you had time and I read more, you will see some more insight. And I think this person, if I show you some other company's own, the person really writes it in a way that you will know it's as if you are reading the industry research. Telling all that happened, what they are doing and all. There's a bit of it here, but it's not as much as what I'm expecting. So that's from here you will get many of the outlook. Let's see if the CEO too writes. So sometimes the CEO also writes, sometimes the CEO doesn't write. So let's see if the CEO has written in this one too. Okay. Principal activities, 234 stores. So yeah, so they started a new subsidiary called 234 stores. Financial, okay. Following the merger with, so maybe that must have happened a long time ago or something. Let's see. So it's only the MD that, only the chairman who wrote. I'm just going to say nothing bad, but it's good to read it to have an idea of whatever by law they must disclose every significant thing. If they were fined, they must disclose it. If there is a big concern, they must disclose it. When when the parent company divested from Nigerian UrBizEdge, they had to announce. So those are the kind of things you don't want to miss out of. So it's always good to read that. And then from here to you will see corporate governance. Nigerian Breweries didn't show that in theirs, so let's scroll. But if you do banks will always, okay, yeah, it's there in theirs, good. So you will see they will tell you about committees that see corporate governance. So you want to also read this to be sure, to just have a feel of what their corporate governance is like. Is this something you are okay with, or does it look shady? Okay, so and then risk management. So I'm going to move to the next concern. Actually, Nigerian Breweries checks out in this. I've read their stuffs before. I even have some shares here, so I've gone through this process. No, not this year, like 2 years ago. So I think they still maintain that same corporate governance. The business outlook, I didn't read too much in this, but we are going to see what's next. So price trend, what's the price trend saying? So for the price trend, you want to go to, by the way, apart from that, my website that I show you, you can also use other websites. You can go to trading, investing.com. Investing.com is also very robust. If I didn't have my own platform, that would be what I would be showing you straight up, because they They keep track of a lot of things for free for you. So if I type Nigerian Breweries, let me just give you the link. If I type Nigerian Breweries here, many more minutes, okay, great. I think I'm still on time. If I type Nigerian Breweries here, I'm going to see preferably start with 1 year, check out what the price trend is like. So this is 1 year. I've taken a look at it. I'm seeing what it's like. I'm going to do 5 years. Okay, so it's actually gone down. Then max. So it's very funny. It's even lower than what it was in 2004. You know, that's a very sad one if you ask me. So now, the way you interpret this is different from the way you interpret most other things. The way you interpret this is, I don't know if you are familiar with the technical trading, technical analysis, where we talk about support and resistance. So you will notice this line here. It has never gone below this price figure in the last, how many years now? About 16 years. Okay. So if you're, as long as there's nothing, that's why we started with what's the business outlook. There's nothing threatening the existence of Nigerian breweries. Management checks out fine. There's no external negative concern, right? Then, for me, naturally, this means that the price being close to this is a potential for better upside. You know, for me, this shows that the price trend shows a lot more upside. Nigerian breweries is going to go higher than this. That's more likely what will happen looking at this chart. Okay, so the price trend, that's not the end anyway. I prefer to use my own tool because my own tool I've put in more of the things that I like to see. So you can use this and you can use my own tool. So let me show you my own tool. So I'm going to use my own tool to now show you the additional things I look for. So I'm going to go, I've given you the link. I'm going to go to here, Nigerian Breweries. Pick it, okay, so it's already here. So I can see it a lot better, sorry, this. I can see it a lot nicer than the way it's been displayed here. And then more importantly too, I can go as far back as year 2000. I can, you know, zoom into some recent period. So I can go, I have more control because that's what I wanted and that's what I put there, okay? So I can see that the volume of trade has been going up steady. You know, recently it has flattened out again, but it was really up was up last year. It's really low this year. So I'm going to zoom in more to between last year and this year. So I can even come here and start from 2020 and January 1. Okay, so if I'm looking at it this way, there is a very low trading volume recently. Okay, right. So I go to the next page. I'm going to tell us how you interpret that. So here I'm looking at what we call technical signals to show me, are we in a bullish or in a bearish trend? So I'm looking at this. When you see green, that is bullish, red is bearish. So we're actually we've just come out of a bearish trend. We are in a bullish trend again, but it looks like it's declining, it's weakening. Okay. So what this means is there's not so much activity around it currently. Okay. It's not a plus, it's not a negative. It's more of like a neutral. So if I'm going to come back here to my slide, the price trend is saying, let me write it. So price trend is telling me that we are at multi-year low. which means higher potential upside in price, because you've not factored in inflation, their revenue has been growing, which we will come to. So we'll go to number 6 where you see this, but it means a higher potential upside in price. And then if you look at the volume of trade and all here, and the trends and the bearish and bullish trend, so it's showing me that there is low activity currently, weak bullish trend. Okay, so that's what I'm seeing from that. Let me color it differently. Okay, now let's dig into the fundamentals. So for the fundamentals, you can decide to go to their website and start downloading the financial statement all the way back, or you can leverage what I have done for us. You can go to this my tool here, go to the page 5, come here, pick Nigerian Breweries. Pick Nigerian Breweries, and boom, right? It comes up. More emphasis on recent backwards. So let's look at it. Revenue. How's revenue going? Revenue has steadily been going up. Yeah, there had been times of downtime. So 2017 was really high, and then it dropped. It dropped a little, but it ticked upwards again. Okay, but generally, if you look at multi-year, there's an upward trend. So what about profit? The gross profit, the profit after they remove their cost of production. The gross profit is actually weakening, and that one is due to 2 forces: cost pressure due to inflation and exchange rate and what have you. Then government also added more levies for them. So there's this kind of excise, almost like a sales tax that they are paying on their alcoholic drinks. So that's what brought down 2020 very much. So then I go into, so what are you looking for? That's the question that you probably will be on your mind. You are looking for generally upward trends in revenue, right? You are looking for also profits. Yeah, why I'm careful not to say just upward trend in profit is that there are so many things to it. But profit, definitely, if a company is making a loss, I go away, I don't touch them. I would rather wait till when they turn profitable rather than trying to rationalize the loss for them. No. So you don't want loss, you want revenue going up for certain. Then, so when you're looking at the gross profits, the operating profits, and the net profits, when they are plus, good, and when they are growing, better. Okay, but if they are not growing, you want to have an explanation. If you want to continue with whether to buy the company, you want to have an explanation. Now, what kind of explanation are you looking for? The explanation you are looking for is 2 types. There is the explanation from the company side why profit has gone down. That one, if you go and read their financial statements, you will see it. So you might, like now, I can go to the financial statement and download it. Go to the income statement. So when you check the income statement, you will see good. You will see why profit has gone down. So let's look at it. Why has profit gone down? So let's look at profit before tax. It was 16 billion before, it's now 7 billion. Okay, so what are the things that cost it? There is a bigger finance cost. Let me be circling the problem part. There's a bigger finance cost. Can you see this compared to this? Okay, so that has impacted this. What are other things? There is this one looks flat, this one looks flat. So these are the 2 contributors. cost of sales and the finance cost. So cost of sales, I'm a Nigerian, so I understand where that one is coming from. But the finance cost, I want to understand what is driving that. I go to note 8B. So I go to note 8B. Note 8B. How many more minutes do I have? Okay, great. Let me check where we are. We're almost done anyway with the core part of it. Note 8B. Great. So interest on bank deposits. Net loss on foreign exchange transaction. And so if I'm looking at this is the breakdown of that finance cost. Okay, what are the main? This is not the interest on expense on loans and borrowing is not, is even less. Interest on overdrafts. Interest on overdraft ticked up, but is not a big contributor, right? So if you look at it, the biggest contributors are these two. So interest expense on lease liabilities and net loss on foreign exchange transactions. So net loss on foreign exchange transaction, we all can understand. Dollar went up against Naira significantly. This one, you might want to now go and check on the balance sheet. What are the lease liabilities? So is this a kind of one-off thing? Is it something that will keep recurring? So you want to go and check that you trace this now back to the balance sheet. Okay. So, but then you get the whole idea. But for me, I'm okay with what I'm seeing here. So I'm not going to go too much again into digging. So if you now ask me, how do I said there are two parts. One part is this from them explaining in their financials what happened, and then the second part is now revenue profit has dropped, but I also hope that the price I'm paying for the shares has also reflected that profit has dropped. Imagine you want to buy a real estate property for rentage. You want to commercial real estate property. When the people in the building, when they were paying 10 million naira per year as rent, if the rent now drops, maybe generally rent drops in that area, or for whatever reason, that building rent has dropped to now 5 million naira per year, right? You don't expect me to value the building the same way it was when it was 10 million per year people are paying. So that's the second side to it. You want to go and check the price to earning ratio. Did the price to earning ratio also reflect that, this company is no longer earning that superior profit, So if you check the price to earning ratio, and yes, if you look at it, the price to earning ratio is reasonable, which means the company's share price also came down. If we go and look at the graph again, you will see that in year 2019, the price was higher. The company's shares was higher than year 2020, right? Okay, so that means, yes, the market has also adjusted the price I'm going to pay to be in tandem with the reality of the company's profits, okay? So those are the two explanations I am looking for. So in this case, I have found that both explanations check out. Then what are the other things you want to find out in all? What I have here are the things you want to take a look at. I've gone through their financials, and then I've separated here in my two things you want to be aware of. So revenue, you want to see it going up. Gross profit, if it's not going up, you want to have a strong reason, a reason that is affecting everybody in the industry, is not just only them. Then operating profit, you want to also see it reflect. You want to see their admin expenses relatively flat. You don't want a case where their overhead is ballooning, right? So in that, how will you know that? That one you will have to come back here and just take a look at the admin expenses. how much they are paying their staffs and how much they are spending on office expense. Is it looking flat? So if I look at this, they are even doing better. They have cut down on some expenses. So this is perfect. So these are the kind of things you are looking for when you're looking at the operating expenses. You are looking for flatness, or even reduction in the overheads. Okay, so that is good. Profit before tax, the same way we look at gross profit. If it's not going up, you want to see why, and it should be reasonable. Net income, it must be profit, it must be positive, and the positive is not that they got a tax. There's a way you can get them. If I show you Connoy, just because of time, let me see if I can open it. There was a year Connoy made profit, but the profit was purely from tax. So they were making loss before tax and profit after tax. That's not what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for positive profit after tax and positive net income. Price to earning, you want it to be a relative, you don't want it, if you look at historical values, you don't want your value to be higher than the historical values, like considerably higher. So this is not much higher, and the meaning of price to earning is how much you are paying. So you are paying 25 naira 29 kobo for 1 naira profits, 1 naira earning. So it's kind of it's high actually. If you look at the entire Nigerian stock exchange, this is higher than the average. So it's not a case of, do you want to invest, have exposure in this industry? Then you will now compare with the competition and say, okay, is this higher than competition or not? Dividend yield, everybody likes dividend, right? So you want to see something there, not empty. You want to see that they are paying dividend and that it is maybe it's good anyway. So assets should be growing, total assets should be growing. That's what you're looking for. Return on assets, usually you want more than 10%. So these people have failed, right? Their own return on assets is really low, it's 2%. That's very bad. Imagine that your assets that are using to generate business and all, you're just making 2% on it. It's crazy low. So this is a negative thing. Current assets, inventory turnover. So these are the major ones, are the ones up anyway. So when these major ones check out, these ones are, you're just looking for red flags. Are there anything that looks like really red flags? Is the current liability way higher than the current asset? If that is happening, that can, so let's look at current liabilities, 210, current assets. So their own current liability is way higher. So I'm going to want to go and check what is causing it, because that is really way higher. Maybe close, not bad, but way higher is bad. Then the same thing too, also for anything on the asset side and all. So you actually want assets to be higher and LD. So total fixed assets, is it growing? Is what it was the liabilities like? And then what's the equity? Total equity, is it growing too? So you can say equity has been dropping. This is also a negative flag. Okay, so I'm noting down, what I do is I note the negative and I note the positive. So if the negatives are more, or they are on things that I don't want to compromise on, then I forget about the company. I can, if I like them, I can come back again another year and check them out. So these are the things you want to take a look at to see, are they healthy looking? So let's move on to the next process. So if you ask me, the fundamentals are mixed. Some good, some not good. But in reality, I'll be writing out, because of time, in reality, I'll be writing out the good ones. So I have a sheet, I have an Excel sheet where I tick the good ones, stocks analysis. I can even give you this Excel sheet. So in the Excel sheet, I tick it. So you see, I will tick the good ones. The ones that are not good, I don't tick. So I compare. So I have a, where I say number of passes. So out of like total number of 37, so if I tick and I see that, the more you tick, the colors will change anyway. So I've done it already. The more you tick, at a point, the colors will change to yellow to green. So if it's still red, after I've ticked everything that is positive for the company, if it is still red, you see it has changed to yellow, that's good. But if it's still red, I'm not interested anymore. It means they don't have too many. Let me give us this one. I use a live one. I can't give you this one. Let's see. Maybe this is the one I can give you. Yeah, it's not this one. I will look for the link. There's a link I can give you that is like this, but this one I can't give you. This is our production one. I can give you this one. So that's where I tick, and when I tick, I get the full figure, and I'm like, okay, if this guy is, if it gets to green, then good. If it does not hit green, I forget. So for them, I think they are not. Let's even tick. I think they are not up to green. If you ask me, their profit. I'm not going to tick net income. It's not growing, and it's just not bad, but it's not good too. Okay. So current liabilities and current assets are not looking good when I checked it. So if you ask me, it's a red. So I'm going to say it's a red. Grade is red. So that's a red flag in my own analytics. So then is it doing better than the competition in the industry? So that's the next thing you want to do. So you go here to these other particular sheets, go this one. So you want to compare it with, so what's their closest competitor? Anybody? If you want to compare Nigerian breweries, which other company will you want to compare it with? Huh?
International brewery.
They bought it too. They are the owner of international breweries. Either they, okay. I think it's this guy that bought international, Sab Miller. Yeah, someone said Guinness. If you ask me, Guinness is their closest competitor. So I'm going to go here and click on Guinness, add Guinness. So when I add Guinness, I'm going to see comparison. You can see both of them are showing. I can even go as far back again and see. So both of them are showing. Guinness is the one in brown. Nigerian Breweries is the one in gray. Like Guinness is even worse. You can see they were very high up and they have crashed, you know. So that's also a bad signal. Okay, so it looks price-wise, Nigerian Breweries is doing better than Guinness. So what about on a fundamentals basis? So I scroll again here, I scroll here. So I come here, I do the same thing. So I'm going to pick Guinness and Nigerian Breweries. So Guinness and Nigerian Breweries. And then I'll compare. So we start with price-wise, you can see that in here now, Guinness is the deep brown, Nigerian Breweries is the, I don't know what they call this color, that color anyway. So again, you notice that Guinness crashed more, went down a lot more. So price-wise, it's fared worse. Then what do? I start with revenue. Let's go and check out revenue-wise. So these things are arranged alphabetical order. So revenue is R. I'll have to scroll. Revenue, I pick revenue. Revenue-wise, Nigerian Breweries is doing better than Guinness. Not just better in absolute, in trend. You can see that it looks like Guinness revenue is going down. Let me try and show you. Guinness revenue seems to be going down. Whereas Nigerian Breweries revenue is actually going up. So you see, that's what I mean by that. Then what do I go to next? Net income, profit. Again, Nigerian Breweries is looking better. Guinness made a loss last year. Okay, so what do I go into next? I go into the things that relates to this asset and liability. So total assets. So let's go and check total assets. T, total assets will be T. Total assets. Again, Nigerian Breweries is growing their asset base, so that's good. Look at total equity. They seem to be having similar pattern. And this is a close one. I look at return on assets. Nigerian Breweries is better than Guinness. Return on equity. Oh boy, if you're an investor in Guinness, you'll be crying right now. Yeah, your money is like vanishing. So what do I do here? Yeah, it seems they are better. Nigerian Breweries is better than close competition. The other competitors are not that big. So, you know, the problem we have in Nigeria is that there's not too many companies represented on our stock exchange. So this is the most relevant person to compare with. The international breweries you are saying, I think they've delisted them. Or I think they're still trading, but they've been acquired. They've been acquired by, that's the international breweries in Oshobo or something. They've been acquired by Sab Miller. And Sab Miller is not trading on the stock exchange, so it's not a good comparison. So this is me now saying, yeah, so this is like a positive anyway. So I can color this green. So financial ratios, let's take a good look at the financial ratios. So you now go back here, the financial ratios, we want to look at them. So I'm going to remove Guinness now. So what are the financial ratios? Price to earning. So this is what it means. How much are you paying to get 1 naira profit? So imagine that you give me 25 naira, 29 kobo, and I give you 1 naira at the end of the year. What's the rate of return for that? That's like 4%. So this is bad. So, you know, this is bad because there are many other companies you can buy that you get more return. In fact, First Bank that is struggling, if I do First Bank, I think you get a much more return. See, with First Bank, you are going to get about, is this not 18%? Like kind of 18% return. You give them 6 naira, you get 1 naira at the end of the year. And that's a good return. So it's not unusual to get very good returns. And if I go and pick some of these companies in pharmaceutical or insurance, you almost be getting 1 naira for 1 naira back. Let's try one of them. Try Lasaco. So you can see this one, you're getting like 2 naira for 1 naira. You know, if I go and pick some in the Fitsin, let's try Fitsin. Okay, Fitsin had an issue recently. Let's try. So there are so many companies that you can buy into that you get a better value for your money. So it's a negative for me. Quick ratio. How well can they cover their liabilities with their cash? This is bad, you know. But they are very big in there. It's not that, but it's relatively bad. It's not greatly bad. Net income margin. Oh boy, 2% income margin. So this is really horrible. You know, I'm not interested in buying Nigerian breweries because their profit margin is 2%. You do business of 100 million naira, your profit is 2 million naira at the end of the year. No, I'm not interested in that kind of a company. There are other options I'll put my money in. So those are the ratios that I start checking, and and this shows you the trend too. So you see it's getting worse and worse. So I don't know, maybe next year it will even be 0, right? Because if you look at the trend, it's going worse. Maybe whatever is causing it has not yet been handled, or it's a persistent problem, it's a systematic or an industry problem that, you know, is just weighing them down. So I'm not going to buy Nigerian brewery. So you see that we have already come to the end, the pros and the cons. By the time you've done this, you'll be seeing what is for it, what is against it, and then you'll be making a final decision. So by this analysis, I can see that there are too many things not going well for Nigerian breweries. It's not their fault, but since I'm an investor, I'm looking for somewhere to put my money for good returns, I would rather maybe just forget about that industry and maybe go to Okomu and Presco. So that's probably what I would do. So I'll go to see this kind of company, 22%, 100 million naira business, 22 million naira profits after expenses and all, so that's a cool business. Let's check Okomu oil. Did my guys not put Okomu inside me? But anyway, you see what I mean, whereby I want to check this and be sure that I'm putting my money where things are really good. What's the price to earn? See, I'm paying 3 naira for 1 naira profit. So these are the things I do. Any questions as we wrap up? So that's the end. And my decision, I'm not buying because there are too many things that are not going well with the company, and I can get better value for my money somewhere else. So I'd rather go and look at another company. So any question as we have come to the end? But hopefully you've seen that I used majorly 2 tools. If you ask me, I used Google search to get news about the company. So we use Google search. First of all, I use my tool that I gave you to find out the trading volume. Is the volume good enough? You don't want to buy into a stocks where you are the big man there. You want to sell. You are the only one selling. You want to buy. You are the only one buying. There's problem. Then you use Google to search for news about it. Are the company having any issues or anything? It could be positive, could be negative that you want to be aware of. Then you go to their website, check about on their management, go to their annual statement, read about their corporate governance, and in the annual statement, check out their business outlook. Then go back to the tool I gave us, look at the price trend, what is it saying? Then go to that my tool again, look at the fundamentals. Are they very good? Are they all good? Or there's more good than bad? In their own case, they seem to have more bad than good. Then compared to competitor, are they doing better, or should you just forget about them and buy into the competitor that is doing better? Then go back and check also the financial ratios. How are they doing on a trend basis, on a whatsoever basis? So I'm checking all of return on equity, return on asset, and all of that. So you will find them in this tool. Then now weigh the pros and the cons. Are there enough going for it for you to go ahead? In this case, no, so I'm not buying. Someone has a question. In the absence of any question, I'll just round up the session. We'll just end it here then. But did you gain any new thing? Was it worth your time and all? I'm not hearing anything. Is it? Let's say something though. I'm feeling worried now that nobody's even saying anything. You can unmute, you can type, you can whatever approach you like.
Yes, it does worth it.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so we have come to the end. Thank you very much. See you again next week. And by 4 p.m., if you're interested, we have a session that is on Excel. So my colleague is delivering the session. Let me get the link so you can join. So my colleague is delivering this session at 4 p.m. And this is the link if you're interested. It's on Excel. So as many of us who use Excel.
Are you giving us the link now?
Yes, sir. Pasting it in the chat box. So you can.
Okay.
From there you will get the. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a nice time. Bye.
Mr. Gupta, I am paying you by the hour, am I